Hey, good evening if you're watching live. Welcome to episode 187 of About the Cards podcast, live tonight on YouTube. As always, with host Stefan Loeffler at Junkwax Twins.
Hey, that's me.
He's back after like 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it's been. Glad to hear you're back. Glad to hear you're doing well. And then I'm Ben.
Debatable, but
And then I'm Ben Wilson at Our Trading Cards. We're a podcast by collectors for collectors. We hope to bring you a smart and insightful podcast discussing trading card collecting. All cards tell a story. What stories do yours tell? We're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 Central on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards. We are available usually the next day as a podcast everywhere you can find one. No announcements tonight, but we do have back with us after a very long lull between the last one and this time, the Nick Wasika. How are you, my brother?
Fantastic. How are you guys?
Doing good. It's always a good time when we have you on.
It's always a good time to be on, so thanks for having me.
Wouldn't miss it for the world, even with Uncle Rich trying to pull me out of it.
What was that for?
I had a bout with a nasty strain of cold, but I'm getting over it pretty quick.
All right, good.
I'm productive.
And he's in the YouTube chat right now telling you to take off the rest of the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I'll play by ear. No, so last time I was on, I addressed some things. This time I apparently have even more news to address. Yes, unfortunately, my mom did pass away on the 9th. Still don't know the cause fully. She had a infection that spiked her fever, that spiked her heart essentially to go out over the next several hours. But surrounded by family, surrounded by friends, we're all around giving our last condolences and promises and everything that you do on that moment. And then as I'm working through that, we find out the next Sunday that one of our cats has 2 forms of cancer. So Sundays are kind of ruined in this household, apparently. And then a bout of bronchitis and pneumonia. So it's been a very active January in the Loeffler household. But mom wouldn't want us sitting around moping around being depressed. She's very much the life of the party type. So things go on, and we'll live in her honor. So we're still here, and we're gonna have a better 2022.
Sorry to hear that, man. Sending you the good mojo. Sending it all your way.
Absolutely appreciate it. And thank you, of course, to everyone who's checked in. I've got messages from so many people. It's definitely heartwarming that the hobby is still here for people. I know Ben may have more people blocked than that he follows, but it's definitely appreciated and loved in the Loeffler household.
No, we were all thinking about you, and of course it was surprising news, shocking news. It looked like she had taken a turn for the better there.
Yes, she had. They were talking about bringing her off the ventilator, to giving us updates. Well, she's only relying on it 65% today, 55% today, and then we got a call about midnight saying get to the hospital now, minutes to hours, and it was a huge shock. I mean, it definitely deserved a second chance at things, but can't dwell on it. We will have a remembrance here in the summer in nearby Canada, Winnipeg. Maybe make a trip through Minneapolis, Nick. And we'll celebrate. As only she would want and wish for us.
All BS aside, it's amazing how quick the hobby community will come together. Put all the so much negativity and whether it's manufacturer related or scamming related and this, that, and the other thing. But when something does happen, the hobby kind of closes its ranks in around whoever it is very quickly, and the love and compassion we can set all that negativity aside and, whatever's going on personally in our portion of the hobby. And, it was good to see from a distance that, everybody in the hobby wrapped their arms around you this time. Unfortunately, wish it hadn't happened, but the hobby is a great community and it makes us all, feel like, hey, we are a part of something special here, despite the fact that sometimes we're negative towards one another and the overall pulse is negative at the moment and has been for a while. So, prayers and thoughts to the Loeffler family and brighter days ahead. So
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So let's get into it, Nick. It's been a while. It looks like you had a fun event recently. Can you share how fun the Winter Classic was and what it is?
So the Winter Classic, I think this was the 14th year of it. It's basically a NHL showcase event where they match two teams together and they put you in an outdoor stadium. It's bringing hockey really back to its roots of playing outside. I grew up playing outside. I still love to play outside to this day. It's like one of my all-time favorite things to do. And getting an opportunity to cover that game, it was just amazing. It was cold as hell out, and but it was at Target Field. The NHL, the Minnesota Wild, the St. Louis Blues, they did a phenomenal job putting this thing together. Place was sold out. The game really didn't go our way if you're a Minnesota Wild fan, but to be down there on that glass and taking photos all the time was amazing.
I can only imagine. I mean, I know that they said that it was like the third coldest sporting event in history, between the Frozen Bowl and there was another football event. But just to see all of the fans there, some wearing shorts and t-shirts because, well, that's what we do. But
I'm a little secret there. That was all a bunch of TikTok BS because you'd see people undressed. They'll do their little dance thing or whatever it is they're going to do. And then they bundle right back up again. I'm like, you posers.
Of course, indeed. I mean, it's all a show. But it's definitely a very cool event. It's something that, and that's the thing, it's center stage. It's January 1st. I think they only play that game that day.
Right. And this was the first one at night in prime time. Normally, I think it's always been like a noon or 1 o'clock
Noon game?
start.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
So this was the first time that was in prime time. And obviously got colder as the sun went down. But, it's one of those things. Well, Steph, that's like if you've lived in Minnesota, you're from here, there's no bad weather. It's just bad clothes, right? So you just prepare for what you're going to be sitting in, working with, and you're all right. The next day, I put all my stuff back on and I weighed myself and I took it all off to figure out how much, my weight and clothes that I had to wear to stay. It was 13 pounds worth of clothes with my boots and hand warmers and mittens and all that stuff.
Right.
To stay warm for those 3 periods outside. But it was a blast. I would totally jump at the opportunity. Like it's any one of those things, like it's never going to happen again here. Probably not, like it's like a comet. And when it comes along, you got to jump on it or, you may not get the opportunity again.
Well, it's not like we're Blackhawks fans where they're in it every other year or the Stadium Series or whatnot.
Right.
And especially, I'd love to see how much the Twins put in to preparing their stadium and their field, and especially for the weather. I mean, I know I looked this morning, and my hometown was -13. Feels like -37.
So why not just say it's? What's up with that? You Minnesotians and Wisconsinites, it's like, oh, it feels like no. If it's 62 outside, it feels like 62.
Well,
if it feels like 50, then just call it 50.
No, it's the wind chill factor. Everything would be fine if the wind wasn't blowing. That wind gets rolled. Like I've stated it 100 times. Wind is my least favorite element, and that's one of the reasons.
So, did you have a favorite moment from the Winter Classic?
A couple actually. This was really interesting. So like literally 4 days before the event, Paul Nguyen, who was like the marketing guy at Upper Deck, he's like, hey, here's the itinerary for the game. These are all the things you can do. And I'm like, great, I'm credentialed. They're like, no, we got you tickets. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we got you 4 tickets so you could bring your family.
Nice.
Like, no one told me. Well, because I work with different departments, everybody thought the other person told me, and I didn't find out till like 4 days before the event. So I got to tell my wife and kids, like, hey, guess where you guys get to go? And they were great seats. They went through the whole fan experience thing. They watched the game. I'm super impressed. They stuck around the entire game because my wife is such a freeze baby, but she was like, it was kind of like one of those FOMO things, right? Like she was there.
Right.
The game was entertaining, or it got more entertaining in the third when the Wild sort of, turned it on finally. But that was one of them. And then, like, I think I mentioned before, and this was really cool. I think the first time that you guys had me on, every time I walk up those 8 steps in Target Field to go onto the field, I sort of get those chills. And I got that again because when I walked up, I saw a hockey arena out there. And it was just sort of like holy cow. It's pretty surreal at first, but it's one of the coolest things ever. If you guys ever get an opportunity to do anything like that, just take it.
We almost had tickets to the previous one here in Dallas at Fair Park.
Right.
Kind of kicking my feet for not going to it, but at the same time, it's the Stars.
Right.
So.
Sometimes it's about making memories and
Right.
things that you can't buy. I mean, I guess technically you're buying your way into whatever it is. If you're going to Disneyland, you're buying the Disneyland tickets, but it's the memory and
Right.
it's amazing. I'm so glad you got to share that with your wife and kids because
Right.
it makes it different. I mean, you're there, dad's there to work, but
Right.
who says you can't have fun? And I mean, you have a tremendous job as it is.
Right.
It's like you get to go take pictures at sporting events that are memorialized in your photography for eternity. And it's just, whether it's on a trading card or if it ends up on a website or,
Right.
it's there. We have that snapshot. We have, Jones in the back of the end zone catching the Montana pass forever.
Right.
It's just, or not Jones, excuse me, Dwight Clark, pardon me.
Yep.
You have these moments in time that are immortalized in some cases, Jordan over Russell at the
Right.
end of the, the finals. And, photography is such a tremendous, thing that, I mean, that's what we collect. Our entire hobby is about what you do and other photographers like you, capturing these moments. And,
Mhm.
a lot of releases like Stadium Club and things like that really go to show the beauty of the artwork that you guys, men,
Right.
women, and create for us. So,
Right. No, after the whole COVID bit and the shutdown and nobody's playing and I, not working and all that, I'm never going to take for granted the ability to do what I do. And it's just icing on the cake when the things land on the cards.
Icing.
yeah, is that the dump pun there?
No, not at all. No pun intended.
So that photo from Classic has to be featured on a card, right? The canvas collection.
Oh, the one with the glass.
Yes.
If you don't like the question or how it was worded, Steph wrote it, so you can.
No, I think I understand what you're talking about. I don't know because I wasn't there for Upper Deck, so if they decide to grab that off the wire or whatever, that's on them. But I was there for the wire service, just doing what I could.
Well, they're probably listening. At least they probably will tomorrow or Friday. So go
Right.
grab it, put it on Canvas Collection because apparently that's what Steph wants. So
Okay.
Well, so
Yeah.
for context, so you got like the base Series 1, Series 2, and then
Right.
Ben, you're well aware of Parallels, right? I would think.
I've heard of them
So-
before.
They have a canvas collection where it's featured kind of like the Upper Deck masterpieces that and texture, but they have different photos, and they're usually slightly better than the standard photos. They're Stadium Club-esque to Series 1.
Mhm.
And this would perfectly stand out, I would think, as a canvas collection parallel.
That would be an incredible card, even if Nick hadn't taken the photo.
The
It's
legal
an-
never approve it.
Yeah. But yeah, you throw that on Canvas Collection. I'd love to add that just because it's a badass card.
Right.
It would be.
But yeah, the fact that of course, good
It's a
friend took
tussle.
it.
You'll never. I
Yeah.
think I saw it. It was like back in the 70s. There was a card of somebody like in a, the one set that they produced at the time, and it was an actual fight photo. And I think that's the only one you'll ever find or have because, anything like that, it's never going to find its way onto a card.
It's not a fight. It's just two men who happen to be smashing into the glass at the exact same time. Their bodies perhaps could be touching one another. It's just
you just clean the visor for them. That's all.
That's all it was. It's very.
There you go.
This is why I say Steph watches the show already. He's already seen it because how does he pull this stuff up? This is what the show's been lacking on YouTube the last few weeks when he's been out.
Genius.
What would you honestly like to know?
Yeah, the mystery is much better when you just pull something.
Don't show us behind the curtain. I don't want to know how the sauce is made. Just show the sauce.
So you recently shared some. You recently shared some photos of new cards that have your photos on them. Mm-hmm. How's that work out?
New releases are coming out. Anytime there's a release that actually comes out that I'm into, I'm pretty excited about it. So the whole gallery bit with Topps, the departure from the drawings, which is better for me, so
a lot nicer this year.
Yeah, I think so too. Just cleaner, and it standardizes the look, because you have all these different artists, and I appreciate what they do and everything. I'm not knocking it, but like as far as like everything just sort of looked different, So had a few photos on that, and then MVP came out, and of course it was just
great product.
I love it.
Plenty of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I need you to get an Oakland A's because I think we've talked about this before. I need an Oakland A's.
I know
from you in my PC somewhere.
Right. No, I'm working on it. Trust me. It's already circled.
No. Ben, you don't know it yet.
I feel bad. It's been 2 years now, but I didn't get to shoot any Twins 2 years ago, and last year I didn't start until they played them very early on. It was like the first or second series of the year when they were up here, and I didn't cover it. So, but
Ben,
I haven't forgot about you. I will overshoot the A's. Promise.
Ben, you don't know it yet, but what you actually need is a 1979 Mork and Mindy piece of gum.
I'll tell you what. If Upper Deck can get that photo that we just shared on a canvas collection, I will settle out of the proverbial hobby court, and I will add that to my PC, and I won't need the A's one. I still want the A's one.
No, I got to get
you. I just won't need it as much. Mm-hmm. So what has been your? I'm assuming Steph, you were going to say what has been your favorite photo so far this year? Is that where the question is going?
Yeah, it's just your favorite for the new sets.
The
release
well, the two Dylan Carlsons from the gallery, because again, as I mentioned before, when I had like the 2018 Topps Mike Trout, my family's there watching the game while I'm working. We did this thing last summer where we went down to St. Louis, up to Chicago, over to Milwaukee and home. And the plan was to work a game and then hang out and do like family stuff while we're there. So that was sort of our summer vacation last year.
That's a little vacation, sure.
Yep. So that one's just sort of tied to the memory of a family vacation. So I think, for baseball for now, those would be it. The hockey ones, I'm just excited that I'm starting to see Minnesota Wild cards with them in their green uniforms. For the longest time, it was always road whites. And, being such a Minnesota Wild fan and a hockey fan and, obviously a photographer that gets to do these things, I was joking with John Ibrex, the photo manager, like, hey, I'm sick of seeing these Wild guys in their white jerseys. Like, give me a shot here, man. And luckily he did. And it's, they're starting to show up in their green jerseys. So I'm just happy about that.
And I mean, really, outside of them wearing the North Stars gear, those reverse retros are really sweet.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, those are some of my favorites too. Actually, I want to show you one here. Hold on. This one was one of my favorites.
So if you're watching live here on YouTube, we're getting a nice picture of Nick's couch.
Yep, there it is.
It's got two cushions,
Yep.
one on the left, one on the right.
Looks like an orange cap in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, if you can identify what that is, Steph, even better.
It's red.
This kid's high school. Red?
Oh, it's just that's my kid's version of my Shakopee baseball hat. Nice plug there, boys. All right. Let me see here.
Netminders. Or deposits, rather. Sorry.
Yep. So at
Very
the
cool.
end of warm-ups, Kirill and Matt Zuccarello essentially just feed each other one-timers, right? On their offhand. So like just think of Ovechkin's office, and they just set up and they're feeding, and these two are always the last two out on the ice, typically, and then Foligno as well. And this was the first night they wore the reverse retros last year. But yeah, I love the photo.
I obviously I'm a big fan of green on cards. So
Right.
you know, like you're saying, get the home jerseys. More green we can get into this hobby, the better.
Right.
You know, and naturally I'd be a Minnesota Wild fan more than, you know,
Right.
just because of the color.
Well, and especially just even that set, because that's one of the inserts in that set that I'm trying to collect,
Right.
along with the Intimidation Nation.
Right. Well, and then the thing I really liked about this too, when they put their advertising out, right? That like, oh, these are some of the inserts and whatever. They showed this card, but it was autographed, and it was like 1 of 10. And I was like, son of a bitch! Like, I'm gonna get that card, right? It's a 1 of 10. It's autographed. I'm like, why do you guys do that?
$600.
Right. But no, I love the shot. So I'm glad it made it into its card, and I'm glad that they made it just like a base version, if you will, of a insert. So
that's awesome. You know, we always ask that question, and of course we've asked you this probably the first time you were on. What one card would you own if you could only own one? And it's almost unfair to ask someone like you that, because you'd be like, "Hey, I like this card," and be like, "All right, what's the backstory?"
Right.
Well, I took the photo.
Right.
It's like, that's not very fair, because but it's awesome. Like you're saying, that Dylan Carlson is tied to a personal memory as much as just the fact that, hey, as a professional, I took the photo. It was chosen for this particular card. That's great. It's not the only one that I've had, but this particular one, or a handful of ones, have a story that's personal to me. And, you know, it's just makes it even more intimate and personal, which is awesome. And that's why we collect. It's again, our cards tell a story, and they're independent to us. Why do you like that one? Well, because it's such and such.
Yep. Well, that being said, I did pull the trigger on one recently that hasn't shown up yet. So throughout this whole process and my journey in photography, and then the cards and the whole bit, I've been fortunate enough to land like 3 or 4 Trout cards that are super low numbered. They're autographed. They got jerseys and bases and all that stuff. And they're all going for north of a mortgage payment. But I picked one up the other day. It was 2020. The tops, it was a significant statistics that used my photo. It's got a jersey and an autograph, and I bought it. It'll be here on Friday. So I think that might be the new number one that's not tied to, a family vacation or, a memory like that. But I'm like, I'm never going to have an opportunity again, probably to own one of those at the price I think I got it at. So
can you do us a favor? Can you tag us on Twitter next week? Absolutely. Can you share a picture? We'd like to share it maybe on next week's mail day. And obviously just because it's the duality of it, right? It's yours,
right.
But also because it's your photo. So we asked. Go ahead.
Well, then because you always ask me too, like, oh, how many graded? This one happens to be graded, so this will be like the 3rd graded card I actually own.
See, and that's okay. It's personal, which it makes it. I mean, it's got to be an incredible feeling. Not that most of us, me personally, Steph personally, wouldn't know, because we aren't photographers. Right. We had Matt Peak on last week from Parkside Cards, and they do a women's soccer league series amongst a few other things. And we asked him, do you monitor your own cards as a manufacturer on a secondary market? Just kind of see how the ebb and flow of the market and how the market reacts to it. Do you do the same with some of your cards that you've photographed and say, man, it could just be again, like the Kirill autograph out of 10
Yeah.
is going to have highly sought after player,
Right.
low numbered
Right.
autographs. So it's going to have a very specific market anyway. But when it's one of your cards, I mean, do you monitor that at all?
A little bit, but it's usually I'm pissed about it because I know I can't add it to my PC. Like whether it's my photo or not, if you get that sort of card with that auto, the low number and the player, it's going to demand it regardless of the photo. You know what
Sure.
I'm saying?
Sure.
But what I do is like I have this book and release date comes out and I'm already looking at eBay. I'm watching breaks and then I just write down like that one's mine. That's one. So like I have my own little checklist. And then when I'm ready to go, buy some stuff to a card show, I bring that and that's my cross off thing. But it's not so much of monitoring what they're worth. It's just that they're out there.
Yeah. When people love them, obviously. My affinity for A's cards, I love them all like you'd love your children. It's like I don't
Right.
have a favorite. I have whatever one's in my hand right now is my favorite.
Right.
But yeah, it's they're out there. They're out there. That there are people like me out there that own a piece of your photography on a trading card.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be a special feeling.
No, it is cool.
It's
I'm
really
not going
neat.
to deny it. And it's a better feeling though is recently, like if I'm getting doubles or whatever, if my kids' buddies come over and they're like, "Oh, that's so cool!" Like it's more fun to give them away now.
Kind of like the Astudillos.
What's that? Yeah. Yep.
No, it'd be should we ever meet in person, or I get your home address and say, hey, can you sign this such and such card? It's not the player signing the card, it's the photographer, which is just as cool in a completely different way. And of course, when it's you, we know each other,
right?
So it adds a special touch to it. But I don't know how many photographers are being sought after to sign their artwork on a trading card. I mean, I'm sure there are some. Obviously, the Project 2020 and Project 70 is a different type of artwork,
right?
And that has its own market for artist autographs. But
well, that's sort of the rub for what we do. It's the anonymity of it all, because it's it's like my name's not on that card, like
right.
That sort of thing. But there's a lot of people out there like much more talented than I am doing this too. So I'd love for those people to like be recognized for the work they're doing.
I've been watching a lot of the old reruns of Comic Book Men on Amazon Prime. It ran for 7 years, and how, as a non-comic book collector, how in tune these collectors are with the artists, and how. I mean, it's the same kind of a thing. Is you are our artist. Everyone that photographs these cards, you get it and go, man, that's such a cool picture. I mean, one of my favorite all-time pictures was featured on the 2020 Stadium Club McGuire last year, which was he and it was a poster of he and Canseco side by side as the Blues Brothers, which they called the Bash Brothers. It was an infamous picture, and they cropped it to where it was just McGuire for the Stadium Club. But it's like there was somebody like you back in 87, 88 that took that photo. And everybody in the Bay Area, all of these kids who loved the Canseco McGuire, the Bash Brothers, probably had a poster of that on their wall growing up. You had kids that had their new kids on the block back that time. There was a lot of us that baseball fans that had the Bash Brothers, and I can't tell you who the photographer was, but he was a part of my childhood, or she was a part of my childhood.
Steph, Google that. See if you can find out. Go to Getty Images.
Yeah, see if we can find a name for that artist. But yeah, it's like, why wouldn't I talk and hold them, on this pedestal the same way the people on Comic Book Men in that industry say, John Romita this and that, and Stan Lee, and it's like, why aren't we talking about, man, Nick Wasika's on my wall? Boom, I got the. We should. We should. And because your profession is such a huge part. I mean, it's everything. Everything.
No,
every
I
card.
I would love for that to happen. Again, it's just with the whole card show bit too, it's hopefully I get an opportunity to kind of showcase these people that have been doing this a lot longer than I have, that I look up to, that, I've been watching from afar for so long. So
Yeah,
Fingers crossed.
there was a movie, and I think it was about Motown, Shadows of Motown or something along those lines, where they talked about the Funk Brothers
Right.
who played live on all of the Motown tracks. And I remember them telling a story, and I do not know the gentleman's name, but he was out to dinner with another member of the Motown family, and the song "My Girl" by the Temptations comes on, and the doom 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 doom. He goes, "That's my bass line," and the waiter's like, "What?" He's like, "Nothing." And the guy he was with is like, "Why didn't you tell him that's you?" He's like, "Because he's not gonna care."
Right.
But pretty much everybody in this world, because it's such an infamous song, is
Right.
familiar with that bass line and that intro. And if you start hearing that, whether you like the song or not, it's irrelevant.
Right.
You know the song that you're about to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's the same type of a thing that we, as a hobby, undervalue the contribution of photographers. And that's why when our friend Matt Major is like, you got to have this guy on, however long it was, 2.5 years ago now. And he's like, this is a guy that is a photographer, et cetera. And it's like, all right, can you put us in contact with him? And obviously it's been an honor to have you as a friend and have you on the show now, however many times it's been, because of that. It's a underappreciated and underrecognized part of the hobby, but it shouldn't be.
Right. And I appreciate that. And I tell everybody, like, nothing happened to me until I was on your guys' show. So
yeah, no, we love that. And the checks in the mail.
Right. It's coming along with those A's cards eventually.
Yeah. So yeah, and right now, if you're watching on YouTube, whether it's live or on rerun,
replay.
Do we have a photographer name on that?
John and Talk Costicos.
Right.
I don't know who that is, but I love him.
Them.
Yeah. Why don't I know that?
Right.
In other words, it's that sat on my wall for years, and now, I mean, when that came out at the beginning of 2020, January, they start showing pictures of what Stadium Club's going to look like. I circled June 24th on my calendar. Obviously, that day got pushed back because of COVID, but at that time, I was like, oh my God, they're putting that on a card, and I'm going to have to get every parallel, and it's going to cost me a fortune. I told my dad, I was like, hey, Christmas is going to have to come early. I might need your help on like the photographer proof and some of these low numbered ones. I need, I need the superfractor, which I didn't get, but
right.
And again, it's because somebody took that photo back in 87 or 88.
Well, and I was going to tack on, and apparently I was muted. Things happen. When you're talking to seeing your photos on cards for the first time, like, do you keep a mental track of which players and teams you've taken photos of, so that when you're going through the sets, you kind of know who to look through, or is it all just kind of a brand new surprise?
No, it's I'm fully aware of what teams I shot, especially in baseball. What version of the uniforms? Obviously, when they're on the road, they're all going to be wearing gray pants. But is it a gray jersey, or is it the colored jersey? Day game, night game, that sort of thing. You can tell a lot of times in the background too, if it's at Target Field, if it's at Busch Stadium or whatever it happens to be. But I keep mental notes of who I shot, where I shot, and there's certain players, like when I went to, again, going down to St. Louis, I overshot Carlson, I overshot Brian Hayes, because like those are the guys I wanted to land. And so when those cards come up, I'm like, he wasn't wearing those armbands that day, so I can just keep going. And you just, again, take mental notes of the things that they were wearing and when I was covering the game.
So before we get into the rest of the show, Steph wrote this question. He personally likes it when you can see other teams and crops aren't super tight. There's an infamous card that is a Mark McGwire card, but it says Kirby Puckett across the bottom. Steph, what is it, 89, 90 upper deck?
Somewhere in there, yeah, 90. I think.
And they're side by side. And
Right.
if you didn't know, familiar with the card, if you had cut off the bottom of who it was, you wouldn't know if it's a Mark card or if it's a Kirby card.
Right.
Really cool.
89.
So what's your photographer's eye, from your perspective? What do you see when you're behind the lens? Do you kind of take into account like, hey, I've got these two players side by side,
Mhm.
or would in this particular one we're showing the Kirby Puckett card? Would you do more of a focus like I've got to get Puckett for this shot? Not a big deal if I get McGuire. Of course, I suppose a lot of it's the angle and where you're sitting versus the
Right.
action. But
just it's a little bit of both. It depends on where they're at and what they're doing. So like for this card here, I probably would have went in a landscape deal, okay, instead of this horizontal figure, just because I like to play with the foreground and background. And in the background, you have Mark McGuire, but you also have the 343 out here. I would have sort of included that as well in a horizontal card as opposed to a vertical one. But I've been doing this thing lately with, I want to see if I have a photo like that with two players and they're sort of standing side by side. If I put that up, I've always wanted to do this thing where like that player gets its own card and that player gets its own card, and I can sort of put it together. So I've been doing that with hockey, baseball, and then at first base is a perfect opportunity to do that because, the guy gets on first, they're chatting up the first baseman, they take the lead off, they're usually joking or playing around or that sort of thing. And it just sort of lends itself to that. So I had a photo last year that I took 2 years ago. It was a Abreu and Rizzo in Chicago, and they used the Rizzo one, but I'm really hoping that Abreu shows up so I can just, in my own mind, put my own Easter egg together. So I do think about it, and it's something I've been sort of playing with.
Same as Steph would tell me, if Puckett and McGuire both had these are the cards you could sit side by side because it's the same photo, but they're two independent cards. Steph would tell me I'd have to get rainbows of both of them,
right,
side by side. So double the challenge, double the pain in the neck. But no, it's awesome, and it's a great photo here. Landscape versus horizontal, sure, but.
Yeah, I'm thinking they probably had a runner on second or third too because McGuire is so far back.
Yeah, he's coming up off the line. Yeah, it's amazing. There's a Don Mattingly one I want to say that has Mattingly and a player off of first base and the umpire, and it's like the whole card tells a story. And Night Owl cards. Greg has blogs on some of the best cards of the 50s and 60s. They're his favorite cards that just tell stories. Not the most expensive card from a set. Maybe not even the best photography per se. It's just this is a really cool card that tells a story. We don't know what the whole story is. We just have it encapsulated in this photo from this particular day.
Right.
And just it's awesome. And it's like it's what draws us to trading cards.
Right.
As collectors at least, right? I mean, obviously there's a secondary valuation that for some, that's what sparks their interest. But for us, it's, and those are great things. I've got to go, again, Matt Major collects Ivy cards as a Chicago Cubs fan.
Right.
And he's got to have any card that shows the Wrigley Ivy in it. And, I admire his enthusiasm. Not for me. But growing up, if we were flipping through a 1988 Topps and there was an Oakland A, you had a Mickey Tettleton in the background. My dad's like, dude, that's an A's card.
That's awesome.
Or like this 89 Upper Deck, Larry Parrish with McGuire in the background.
Yeah.
It's a McGuire card.
You need it. I don't know who number, presumably 12, maybe 22 is on the back of the Jose Uribe, but Ben, there you go. Card number 181.
That almost looks like it might have been spring training.
Probably.
Because of the uniforms and the stuff in the background.
Right. Well, and I think
the advertisements.
And depending on where like design goes, those cards may be fewer and far between because you think about it, it's got to be this isolated solo shot because they need to make a acetate card of it. They need to have room for a jersey swatch or an autograph and all these sort of variations of that same card. It's tough to do. And you look at like what Panini's doing in their mosaic, and it's a cutout on the design. There's no background. There's no other player present, so.
Again, it wasn't really a thing I had thought about that you had to frame around a potential jersey, or in this case, a potential autograph.
Right. And I learned that, just the episode of the card show where we did the whole Jack Hughes bit, and I was flying from New Jersey to Carlsbad, and I have in my mind like, oh, okay, these are like my top 5 choices. When we get there, you can't use that one, can't use that one, you can't use that one, because I'm looking at it from a photographic standpoint. I didn't know there needed to be 14 variations of this card, so it's something that I think not everybody in the hobby is aware of or even thinks about, but it's got to fit that. It's got to create the rainbow. And if there's a lot like that, would never be something that could be used for anything like that.
Not unless you just did the white border around it. But
Right.
Yeah. Change purple, blue, orange, green.
Right.
But that's why you see the beauty of Stadium Club, for instance, year in, year out. Their
Right.
parallels aren't the same. In other words, they've got the black foil where it's just the name, and the Stadium Club is in black
Right.
foil, then it's in red foil, it's in blue foil out of 50.
Mhm.
Then they've
It's
got the atomic and wave refractors and all this other stuff. So they don't have bordered parallels for people that want to collect color matches and whatnot. It doesn't take away from the photography with what you do. And in a lot of cases, like with the wave parallel, it enhances it in
Right.
certain ways. Maybe not as great, but it just adds a new feature, like atomic, right? It's just cracked ice and all these other ones that they've got. They just highlight the beauty of the photography versus I've got a card that's got a border and this one's red and black and blue and yellow and
Right.
Well,
Steph, can you show that McGuire card again?
Sure.
If-
1 second.
And again, this is me just my thing with the whole hands thing. Like you look at that card and Kirby's right hand sawed off with the border, but you can see all of McGuire. So I think that might be a McGuire card.
I like what you're thinking, and I think because Steph's got it autographed by both players, and because it's a McGuire card, I think I should now own it, or at least it should be fractionally owned by About the Cards.
Yeah, I hate when they cut off my arms and hands and things like that. But
Slight edge there, sure.
yeah,
I mean, it was their first year. Thankfully, they learned a lot since 1989.
right.
Still a great card.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
so
not-
what I was showing here is, it's not so much even a full-on photo, but you can still see Greg Nettles and Jim Cott's recent Hall of Fame inductee, Jim Cott, sliding into presumably third base at Yankee Stadium. You can see kind of what inning it was. Obviously, it was a Yankees home game, which in my blog at a point, killer with John Ellis. It's not a killer card. And the back doesn't feature Tony Oliva, but I have this card in my binder for this exact reason.
Sure.
I kind of have a cameos binder, but presumably these are taken on the same weekend. It could only be at New York, so I dated it to July 21st, 1971 because of the great photography. That's the thing that I found unfortunately lacking in some current whatnots, because you can't do a deep dive into a set. I mean, I could, in theory, to plop down with a box and go through and say, hey, okay, Twins home game. This is a Dodger home game. This is at Wrigley Field. They only played this team this many times. It's probably this game, but he only played in September. That type of deal. It just brings you closer to the set, the players, the photography, and ultimately the team and the company producing it, which is what I like.
Right.
And, you mentioned the Hall of Fame there, and little known fact about that Puckett McGuire card is there's not one Hall of Famer shown in that picture. Not at all.
Not for Oakland, no.
That's me trolling Steph because Puckett was not a Hall of Famer, even though he's got a plaque in Cooperstown. Not even close. But
does this guy have one in Cooperstown?
That's what I'm saying. Neither one of those guys are Hall of Famers. That was the little known fact.
Yeah, this guy doesn't, and neither does his signature. I get it.
All right. So, Nick, you're going to stay with us, right, for the rest of the show?
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll have to get you back on in March or April after, Series 1 Upper Deck drops, and I think you got a couple of things coming up that you might want to talk about after the fact. So maybe we'll get you back on in 6 to 8 weeks. But
am I in
Go ahead.
Steve Martin territory? Is this like my 5th time or 4th time?
How many times do you want to be on, and we'll we can fudge the numbers.
Well, no, I want the true numbers, but I'm just.
Steph has a breakdown. I don't know if he's got it handy where he can pull it up. We wanted to thank everybody from 2021 on our final show of 2021, and I was like, "Hey, is there any way you can put the numbers together or give me like?" He's like, "Already got it." He says, "I'll shoot it to you." So, yeah. But yeah, we can get you back on in March or April too. So, and now that it's on camera, you have to say yes.
For those that
I'm
want
never
more
I
information,
told you guys this. I am never going to say no to you guys ever.
Nick was on episodes 56, 107, 169, and now 187.
Okay.
Sorry,
Adam
wrong Nick. Ha! Sorry.
Cool.
That's a friend of the show, Nick Deontay. Deontay? Sorry.
Yeah.
So let's go the proper Nick. Still 3 episodes. 49, 72, and 143.
So this is still number 4.
Hold on. Give me those numbers again because they're going to be my Powerball numbers tomorrow. Hold on. What are they?
Those are podcast sheet here. Yes, I'm obsessive. 49, 72, and 143.
And this is 187. All right. I'm going to carve up them numbers somehow to make lottery numbers. I'll let you know how it goes.
Nice. If you lose, we don't want to invoice in the mail.
Well, I'm never going to tell you I lose. You'll never hear about
it. So this just in listener mail days. Real quick, I got one from loyal show listener friend of the show, Alex Visioni, sent me a couple of A's cards. The Reggie Jackson is numbered here. Well, there's 2 Reggie Jacksons. The middle one is numbered. So, or one of them's numbered. And then another great friend of the show, Matt McNeil at 1986 Astros. Steph, if you can pull up the tweet, he opened up the aforementioned Topps Gallery, which had a complete new design this year with the photography versus the sketch art or whatever it was of years past that, Tim Scheffler loved so much. He said it was his favorite release every year. It was highly anticipated. He's like, Stadium Club can go take a jump off a cliff. He was all in on gallery every year. Sure, he's upset this year that it was photography and not second grade artwork. But Matt opened up a box. I would say he did okay. Steph, do you have it or you want me to open it up?
I'm trying to find a link to it. You got it?
It's in the show. I can't share it, but he's like, my annual 1-box buy of Topps Gallery didn't disappoint. He ends up pulling a Tristan McKenzie non-auto out of 5. And then he pulls a Fernando Tatis with an auto out of 5. So I would say he did all right. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I mean, Matt is a great guy and great collector, great hobbyist, good friend. And, you like to see this kind of stuff happen to good people. To pull a Tatis auto out of 5 is got to be special. And then to get a non-auto out of 5 as well in 1 box. That's pretty cool.
As well as a Vladdy image variation.
I didn't catch that. Nice.
We did also have 1 sent to a DM. Getting that pulled up here real quick. And I have at least 1 share that's sports related. So there's that.
Okay. While Steph's getting that set up, please feel free to share about the cards, your recent mail days pulls. You can tag at About the Cards on Twitter with pictures or a video. And Nick, you're going to share a special mic trout with us next week. If you do videos, keep them, hopefully under 60 seconds. Please G-rated. We try to keep it as G-rated as possible. And you're going to use the hashtag About the Cards Mail Day, and we'll try to get you on in a future episode. As long as Steph's producing. If I'm producing, nothing's being shared outside of. I'm just not that tech savvy.
Okay, gonna have to download those, but fine, that's fine, cool. We'll get you next time, Mark. Mine personally. So this is from a different set. However, through work, I slowly picked off 1 by 1 all of the McDonald's Pokemon 25th anniversary toy cards in base and foil. I have now the complete 25 card set and base. And last card. Foil.
Were those the ones that the grown-ass adults last year were buying cases out the back door?
This was. Picked up most of them for $1 or $2. The Pikachu ran me $15. Not too bad.
And that's a call back to last year when everybody was buying them and then trying to flip them online during the height of flip vesting. And then Pokemon's like, you know what? We're just going to keep making more. So the more you buy, the less value they're going to be on the secondary market because these are for the kids.
Right.
And I thought, how brilliant is that? Just screw you guys. If you bought cases of these, you're going to get stuck with them because the printing presses are going to work overtime for a while.
So when I started opening Magic up last year, just visit one, there was a set or two that stuck out to me, but two, I really took to some of the artwork, and in particular, I took on to the artwork, supporting the artists here, Johann Voss, if that will focus at all. There we go. I've been on his Patreon, I think, for 3-4 months now. So every month I get 2 identical postcards from the mail from Germany. A shiny token.
That's cool.
With this was a themed one, so it's for Halloween. It's kind of a zombie-looking creature with some forest bugs crawling around. Kind of cool, kind of morbid, but Halloween themed. And then 40 different tokens that you can, in theory, if I'm more of a Magic player, I could use in the game as tokens are used. But so the 2 of my favorites here, let me see. There is the Cat Soldier. Looks like he's holding up a bazooka on their shoulder there, riding on a tank. Kind of cool. And there was the Suck-It Snake.
You know, some of those look like if you slapped a football player in front of them, they'd be downtown cards.
And a Taylor Swift reference, if you guys don't mind, where it says, Heartbreaker is going to break.
You should have said no.
Taylor Swift going to sue somebody. She always gets that. She has a whole team of people that are online just trying to find her stuff.
That's the Stefan version. It's just re-recording. No, nobody. Somebody got that reference. And then, as mom encouraged my hobby, growing up as a kid, going to Walmarts and Targets and everything else, we kind of had a grand retail splurge of sorts. But the very first pack that I opened, the very first pack of Pokemon that I opened, Chabam. The Pikachu VMAX, probably 250, 300. It's the one chase card in the entire set. It's the secret rare version, so it's number 188 and 185. Was the special card in the pack. So, thanks for that, Mom. Special spot in the collection. And
all cards tell a story. I love it.
Indeed.
All right, so yeah, mail days, awesome. Looking forward to what everybody's going to be pulling this year as the release calendar starts to open up and we start to get some new 2022 products. The reason I mention that is there's not a whole bunch yet. January is always a light month for most sports, especially baseball. The week that was last week's releases, Topps Living Week 202. Card 485 was Johnny Damon, outfielder for the Red Sox, sold 1,458 copies. Card 486, Mike Moustakas, listed as a second baseman for the Reds, sold 1,452. Major releases that came out last week was 2021 Panini Mosaic Football Choice on the 19th, and then 2021 Bowman Draft Sapphire actually dropped on the 18th of January. Hot off the presses, new releases this week, Topps Living Week 203. Dropping today, card 487, Josh Hader, pitcher for the Brewers, and 488 Roy Oswalt, pitcher for the Astros. Both good-looking cards. Oswalt was from Jared Kelly. So go grab those this week. They'll be available through next Wednesday.
Here's last week's. Sorry for the delay.
No, I didn't have the link prepped. Yeah,
This
and then
guy.
this I know. Honestly, it's Matt Major's fault if he doesn't have them ready, which he did. Then I don't have them ready because that's who I go borrow it from. Hater was Jared's. Hey, Jared's hanging out on the YouTube. See, that's how I get him into YouTube. I misspeak and force him to hop in here and correct me. So I apologize. But both Hater and Oswald, good looking cards. I think I might have to grab both of these.
You only didn't keep it in mind, fresh in mind, because it's just not an A for you to look at, right?
Hater does look like, Jared says in the chat, the amount of glow he placed on Hater's hair makes him look like a cover of a baseball romance novel. Very, if you know the blonde locks guy, I don't know. He's another guy I think that sues all the time when his likeness is mentioned and borrowed. Yeah.
I was going to say the guy that got hit by a duck or goose or whatever it was.
I've been watching a lot of Big Time Rush with my 7-year-old Bentley, and Fabio's like in like 6 of those episodes. I'm like, what was Nickelodeon's love affair with this guy?
What's not like?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, it's what it is, right? You got to cater to the moms of the children that watch Big Time Rush, you know, who happen to have some good music, by the way. So, you know, I'm not gonna lie. You want to talk about Taylor Swift being a guilty pleasure? Hey, I've been watching a lot of Big Time Rush and Muppet Babies lately. So, Topps Living Star Wars available through next Tuesday. Card 277, clone number 99 from Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I don't know why they didn't choose 97 or 98, but they chose 99. So, then card 278, Darth Vader, Star Wars Rebels. So it is an animated version of Darth Vader. Really cool looking card. I think he's got red eyes in it or something like that.
It's kind of a throwback to his original design from when they were envisioning the movie. He has more of a samurai appearance, if you will. Thinned features on his mask.
I think this is the third version. I'm probably way off. I'm just making things up at this point for the sake of good ratings. But I think it's the third version of Darth Vader in the set. At least the second, because I believe he was card number 1, if I'm not mistaken.
That would make sense. Sure.
And then Topps Throwback Thursday, available through tomorrow morning. Set number 3 in the 1983 football design. Card 7 is Bo Bichette. Card 8 is Mike Trout with the short print variation. And then card 9 is Don Mattingly. Good to see Mattingly getting some hobby love.
Okay. Nice card. I dig it.
Yeah, that's a nice design. Very clean. You know, with the sketch, the transparent team name at the top. Very clean design. But
better photos.
You know, Throwback Thursdays never really had great photos. It's just like whatever they've got in the queue, they're like, oh, let's slap this in there. But it's hard for them because they've got, you know, the whole set's going to have Ohtani and Trout. I mean, you know, throughout the whole year, you're going to end up getting 40 of these guys. I mean, I kept the numbers, I think, in 2017, and it was so top heavy. The same players, the same dozen teams. Throwback Thursday, I think, would be a lot more beloved by collectors if it was a little bit more diverse. But yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, it's on demand, so it's going to sell, and you've got to get the Acuñas and the Harpers and the Trouts and the Otanis and the Tatises and, you know, this year the Wander Francos. Once his stuff starts dropping, I'm sure he'll be all over that set as well. But the one thing that does keep it down is the fact that they did this new design last year where they rolled out where it's a 4-week program. So you're probably only going to see, you know, more max of like 12 per year from the most popular names versus a few years back where every week was a brand new design. And you just knew that, all right, every week I'm going to get an Ohtani. Okay. You know. And then major releases this week. There's not a whole lot slated to come out this week. Panini Flawless Basketball dropped today. It's coming at you at $11,250 a box. That
So
came.
funny story, and you'll probably see it on ComC's timeline tomorrow because I'm the one who wrote it. The two featured here share something in common. Previous to the other night, Luka Doncic held the record for the youngest to hit 300 three-pointers in their career until Anthony Edwards broke his record by about 6 months.
Nice.
I think Anthony Edwards is 20 and like 170 some odd days old when he broke the record, and Luka was like 5 days shy of his 21st birthday. So there's that.
Nice. Good for
Not bad.
Minnesota.
Not bad company for a Minnesota guy to be featured in alongside.
It's good to see
I'll save
Edwards
the
doing
other
well
factoid for
since he was a questionable first overall pick. There was some question whether or not he was going to have the work ethic and whatnot. So it's good to see.
He certainly put it in.
Good to see him doing well. So $11,000 a box is going to get you 1 pack, 10 cards. You'll get 9 autos or memorabilia, 8 of which will be guaranteed to be autos according to the sell sheet. So, and then you'll get 1 diamond card, which I'm assuming is going to be the chase card on top of the autos. But, knock yourself out. 11,000 a box. So that'll be fun. It was already sold out on Blowout this morning. So I had to go grab that from a different website on the price point.
And then may know somebody who bought 2.
Really? People just have $23,000 laying around. I mean, I'm check my seat cushions. I'll grab a box by morning. And then coming out Friday, Panini Immaculate Football, just under $2,000 a box. You're going to get 1 pack, 6 cards. You'll get 5 autos or memorabilia, and then 1 base or parallel. I'm sorry if I'm spending $2,000. I don't want any base. There should be no base in a product like that. And then for the 3rd week in a row, we've got Panini Mosaic Football again. This time it's the No Huddle. It's coming at you at $450 a box. You'll get 18 packs, 8 cards per pack. You'll have 1 auto, 3 silver parallels, 10 fast break parallels, 5 inserts, and 1 rookie variation no huddle variation. So also releasing this week is absolutely nothing.
Personally broke a lot of Mosaic Baseball. Great looking product, fun parallels, kind of similar to Prism. Nice cards though, and definitely sold well when I went to flip them on ComC.
God, I don't even know who you are anymore. You're a flipper now?
Well, I don't need Justin Herbert cards or Jonathan Toes, as our fellow buddy co-show host would mention. But if I can turn that into, for example, a 1991 Upper Deck card that has a 1990 Upper Deck foil on the back of it in a graded card from a brand new graded card manufacturer, just to have one, yeah, sure. You take a Jonathan Taves parallel, and I'll take a Kirby Puckett.
Speaking of 1991, friend of mine, waiter over at the Denny's that we go to, finally pulled out a bunch of baseball cards out of his storage unit, wanted me to take a look at them. We get to the restaurant tonight before the show, and he's like, hey, I got them out in my car. You want to go take a look at them? And we open up one of the tubs, and there was a factory sealed. Get this, super rare, 1991 Fleer factory set sealed. And he's like, is that worth anything? I'm like, yeah, if you sell it, you might be able to get a cup of coffee inside. Sitting underneath it, though, was even the more ultra rare factory sealed 1990 Donruss factory set. So anyway, he's sitting on about $4 if he ever decides to sell. Yes, he had some memorabilia in there, thank God, because the cards he had in there were not worth storing all of these years. But he wasn't planning on selling anyway, which is cool. He's like, I got them from my uncle. I'm not getting rid of any of this stuff. He said, I just wanted to know if there was anything in there. And I'm like, you probably catch $100 bill on a good day, but more likely you're in the $30 to $40 range. Unfortunately, again, seeing the 1991 Fleer set was kind of cool.
Which would you rather have, a Fleer Metal Jack Hughes or a 1991 Upper Deck Kirby Puckett?
Personally, I don't want either of them. I'll take the Leaf Metal because the other one is not a Hall of Famer. Why would I even want him in my collection?
Either
So-
Syracuse.
So also releasing this week, like I said, nothing. There's like maybe some Pokemon or something. And then what's brewing next week? Nothing. There's literally like nothing coming out other than like Super Break This, maybe a Leaf set, which doesn't count. So all scheduled release dates are subject to change, but we're current as of this morning. You can check out Ryan Cracknell's articles on Beckett.com/news for more details on
He
the
was
release.
saying on Twitter, in caps lock, mind you, that they were releasing some online something Leaf Yay product. But one, I couldn't stand to be yelled at that much. And two, it was a limited single $250 release. So,
I mean, PSA to Brian. Yeah, everybody earmuffs out there. This is just me talking to Brian one-on-one here for a minute. No need for all caps locks, dude. We're not 15-year-old teenagers anymore. We don't need to talk like that. And besides your Leaf, nobody's paying attention anyway. So, but enjoy.
Jesus.
I know.
I was actually surprised by the amount of Leaf product that I could find. But at the same time, I was also surprised at the amount of G.I. Joe boxes that were available for sale. So,
the power
3.5 milli. So yeah,
power of the internet. Yeah. Yeah, it literally has a market value right now, $3.5 million. So
right.
you know, smoke if you got them. Infill chatter, hobby talk. I'm sure by now you're familiar with who Marks Cards is. Marks spelled Marx Cards. Another hobby scam, this time Marks Cards. Apparently they're a well-known and often used PSA group submitter. Ryan at Card Collector 2 used, and I'm going to use it in past tense, Marks to group sub all of his submissions or most of his submissions. I don't want to misspeak. I know he's used him as a group submitter. Marks would take prepayments for all of the subs. And apparently, this is secondhand information. I just want to make sure that's clear. He used the funds that were not his, that were slated to go to PSA. He used them to open up an LCS in Southern California, as well as having used the funds for other investments. I don't know if that was hobby related or personal, but he
Ryan Johnson from episode 51.
Correct. So Marks allegedly owes PSA around $1 million, does not have the money. And PSA even released a press release saying that Marks Cards is now bankrupt, filing for bankrupt protection, and has lawyered up. If you sub through Marks directly or indirectly, or subbed through Ryan, at least during these particular group submissions, you're most likely not going to get your cards back. Definitely going to probably not get your money back either. You'll probably have to join what inevitably will be a class action lawsuit against Marks. Perhaps PSA will be mentioned in that lawsuit as well. You know, stay tuned. You're going to have to hope to get your money back via chargebacks on your credit cards. According to reports, I've seen Ryan of Card Collector 2 having lost around $120,000 in this debacle. Marks has or will be filing for bankruptcy. According to reports, Sports Card News had this to offer. Steph, I don't know if you've got that tweet available.
I don't, but 2 seconds. Now, I do know, at least on they're apparently embroiled in their own whatnots after some defamatory statements. But I want to say that you would imagine that if you could prove on your submission slip that you're submitting, you know, this card number 31 of 150, that PSA can probably go through the submissions to see, hey, yeah, we have a 31 on 150. This is obviously yours. Now, the people who have submitted base cards, why? Why are you doing that? Why? But those are the people that I feel sorry for the most, because there's just no way that PSA is going to be able to definitively say, this is the one that you submitted versus the other 10 that we have here.
Well, doesn't Mark still have record? Like, What are they going to do with these cards?
You would think so, but I mean, that's where inventory management comes into. What's to say that this 50 whatever tops Roger Maris is yours versus the one that Ben submitted and the one I submitted? Now,
Right.
you may say yours had better corners, or, well, no, it's clearly not mine because it doesn't have ink marks on the back. Okay, well, you're probably not getting the best grade anyway, but how is PSA to know that definitively? So there's some ambiguity to it all, and I would not want to be any of the three. PSA card collector 2, and obviously the guy who's going to file for bankruptcy.
Before you read this from Ryan Teddards, Sports Card News, both Ryan Teddards and Colin Teddards are on one over the last week and a half, and it is absolutely awesome. If you've been watching Sports Card Radio on YouTube, calling out some of these different knuckleheads in the hobby, Colin and Ryan are not the most popular. You can call them shock jocks of the hobby, but a lot of what they put out, you may not like how they put it out, but a lot of what they put out is very poignant and accurate, and a lot of good information. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is the clickbait aspect of, my Rolex this and my Tesla that. But if you can weed through some of that, it's very good information a lot of the time. And it's entertaining. It's YouTube. Why do you watch a YouTube video? I don't care what you watch, whether it's a Taylor Swift video or whether it's a Sports Card Radio or about the cards. It doesn't really matter why you watch it. It's for entertainment purposes, but there's also information there to be had. What does Ryan at Sports Card News have to say about the Marks debacle?
He had to add, you have people giving valuable cards to someone who then gives them to someone else, who then gives them to PSA to render an opinion on them. Damn, you card collectors are stupid. Now, I would like to think that Ryan learns from this experience and Ryan talks to PSA about setting up his own ability to be able to mass group submit.
Ryan as in card collector
forward.
2, not
Correct.
Ryan as in Sports Card
obviously.
News. Yeah.
I would assume that he makes right going that route. Time will tell, obviously. But yeah, it's not the best look on anybody, and I'm honestly surprised this doesn't happen more often.
Yeah,
I mean, even submitting to a local card shop and then having them submit everything to PSA. Why are you paying them to do that for you? I mean, turnaround time, okay, sure. Better rates, maybe, but
why go through a middle person when you can just do it?
And I mean, I get it. It's not everyone's a mechanic. Not everyone can replace their transmission or get it fixed. Sometimes there's some of that, but you would like to think that someone who's submitting cards kind of knows the process and the hobby and the industry.
See, but the problem here wasn't that you were submitting with Ryan Johnson.
No.
It was the fact that Ryan was taking your money and your cards and then sending it over to Mark's Cards to then submit. As far as I'm concerned, that's now, and again, I don't know breach of contract laws and whatnot, but if I hand it over to Nick and say, hey, Nick, can you submit these to PSA? Because I know you do a lot of this. And he's like, sure. This is my verbal contract with Nick, isolated to him. My assumption when I walk away from him is that he's going to give these to PSA on my behalf. But no, he gives them to Steph. And Steph is sending them. That's a side deal. And that's not what I thought I was doing with my money and my cards. And that's essentially what happened here. And that puts Ryan in a precarious position of...
And he may have put that out too, that once I receive your cards, I will be sending these to a group submitter. We don't know what his contracts are, what his agreements, or what he told people verbally in person. I would like to think that he's out in front of it because it seems like a wise young kid out in front of things. I guess really that's my takeaway is I hope he learns, and I hope PSA and everyone else is able to make this as right as they can.
Yeah, and PSA did have, I don't know if you saw that handy, they did have a customer update that if you've submitted cards to Mark's Cards that you believe to be at PSA, please email psacrc@collectors.com. In the subject line, put Mark's Cards. And psacard.com, you can get their official statement if you want to go there and see what their official statement is in regards to Marks. Moving on to the next topic.
Quick answers from chat. No, we're not. Not at the moment. Since Beckett, maybe when Beckett gets caught up, we'll allow that again.
So
but
the question for
currently we just
listeners
don't
is,
want-
is COMC sending cards into Beckett again?
At the moment, no.
Okay.
Just because we don't want to have you guys waiting as long as possible for the cards to come back from Beckett or PSA or anybody else, to then have to explain to you where we're at when we can answer that. Going forward, maybe that's an option. I know we would love to have it back again. And as far as membership, I do believe so, but I don't think it's as restrictive as the getting into other memberships was my understanding. The question being, don't you need a membership to submit to PSA? That is why people go through group subs. I'm sure you have to guarantee a certain amount of volume, but someone like Ryan Johnson with his huge Instagram following and social media outputs, sure he can probably wrangle that up.
Yeah, and the next topic is a follow-up, more specifically to Ryan at Card Collector 2. He's trying to save face at the moment, and rightly so, via Sports Card News once again. You can go to Sports Card News if you want to read the whole breakdown, because it is very long. But his Sports Card News had said Hobby Golden Child Card Collector 2 is trying to explain himself. More horror stories to come as the hobby is in an 8-month downturn. Some of your hobby favorites will go poof this year. Ryan had
this real quick.
You can at least skim it if you want. Yeah, go for it.
So after 2 days since it went live, there were a few more things I wanted to talk about with our business that were not addressed. I've said it before, but understanding using someone to drop off the cards and ship them back was not the right move. Can't change it now, but I can make sure anyone who used us gets their cards back and graded like they trusted us to. I'm genuinely sorry to every single customer that was betrayed by the fact that we used a middleman. Should have had conversations with PSA earlier and started up there sooner. That is a mistake on my part. I know that now. I didn't at the time, and it cost us a lot. We paid Marks anywhere from $21 to $23 per card, plus all shipping charges. Most times we were charging $27 to $28 per card. Prices moved a few times during the process, but would leave us around $5 on average per card to expenses. We had meetings with our CPA to discuss all costs involved and figure out what our profit per card was. Rented additional space to process and review orders. Review orders. I'm not sure where there we go. Plus, hired 4 to 5 people to help with the process. Depending on the volume of cards we were getting, it could fluctuate, but stay between $1 to $2 per card most weeks. While we were making money, our goal was to also build a team to support this growing operation. We had multiple positions for communications and receiving mail, reviewing, shipping, etc. The middleman wasn't to increase our profit. It was to be able to offer a lower cost to customers, get cards back quicker, and remain competitively nationally. But that was the mistake, putting my customers' hands on the line with someone I shouldn't have. If I could go back and do it over, I would. There are no excuses for that, but I assure you any customer who trusted to grade their cards will get them all graded back. Ask questions as asked. Sorry.
You know, if you read through it as Steph did, to me it was just a bunch of woe is me nonsense. Just a bunch of I made mistakes. You can still trust me. I get it. He's trying to save face, but this just goes to show hobby darlings, golden childs, as Sports Card News labeled him. And we aren't trying to throw him under the bus specifically. He just got caught up in this, and it is something that he's involved in. So rightly so, he should get negative feedback. And it goes to show it's very difficult to trust anyone in this hobby, no matter how reputable they are and how big of a following they have.
But thank you for tuning in each and every week and for trusting us to be here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things like now PSA has to rewrite certain rules. So if you choose to submit through PSA, it's the old whoever did this in the classroom, I'm not going to, I want to punish one, but I'm going to have to punish 30. And people were using eBay for years to backload profits into shipping because it was, I'm only getting charged against the sale price at 99 cents and the shipping is $19. And now eBay had to change to final value fees because some people were manipulating and misusing the system. And again, we're all going to be punished for this in the next one. And, when you tell somebody, hey, you can trust me, can I? You see it all the time too on Facebook and Twitter. Hey, can somebody vouch for me because done business with me because I need some vouches? And it's like, technically, if I vouch for you guys, Steph and Nick, I'm saying that if you guys were to burn somebody that I'm vouching for you for, that I would be held accountable. Be careful who you vouch for. I mean, you hate to say it, and we hate to err on the side of negativity and untrustworthy, but the more of this stuff we see, the harder it's going to be for people to trust one another, and that sucks.
I would just like to state for the record that I would vouch for Nick, but not Ben.
The 1% is ruining it for the 99%, essentially. There are a lot of good people, great people out there.
See, I need you to change your Twitter handle tomorrow to be the 1%.
Steph's on one tonight. So speaking of scammers via Keeper27 Storm, Steph, do you have the handy if you want to read through the thread? It's
sir,
like 5 tweets.
Sir. I'm not you. I got this. The story, the main point story in the comments. Be on the lookout for Rafael Devers 2018 Archives Snapshot 5 of 10 Auto VGS, graded 910, 9 mint, Beckett 10 Auto. This, along with many other cards, have been scanned by one guy, and his address has been confirmed by those affected. Retweets, please. Picture of the card here, real quick, for those that have the video. Boop. 5 of 10, top left corner, ASRD, the card number is what it says it is. Certified by Beckett as what it is. So back in November, it was figured out that there was a guy in the Card Club Discord group who got closest to many members who was a scammer. Gained trust, seemingly went out with a bang with over 1,500 cards from 3 to 4 members, including himself. We did not know what to do to take action, but we tracked his Reddit username as a scammer on our sports card tracker. That's the Reddit subsection. There was no further pursuit, and everyone's scam generally moved on. Just today, I found another member on that post from bunch of cards with an underscore between those two words about him being scammed. The owner of the Devers number 10, which wanted to shed light on the situation and let everyone know to avoid shipping to Worcester, Massachusetts 01606 Malden Street, Malden Street. By confirming the exact addresses to each other, we know his aliases have been Jason Sprigg, Cart Kings with a Z, Fly PS Rips, and Boston J. Thanks for looking. Be careful out there. There are many scummy people. Just find the good ones in this hobby.
Yeah, so it's just a FYI, buyer beware PSA, public service announcement PSA. I hate those. That's their acronym.
That's why I put out a PSA earlier this week.
Some dude on Facebook, man, cracked me up this week because I had said, problem with grading is it's not transparent, it's not consistent, it's this, it's that. They give favoritism to certain bulk submitters and favorable grades. And he's like, are you serious? They're one of the most reputable companies in all of the industry. They're the biggest company. I'm like, just because a company's big doesn't mean they're trustworthy. First off, welcome to corporate America 101, guy. But I was just like, the more he started talking, the more it's just like, I said, did you just start collecting last week? He's like, well, according to what the CEO of PSA said on Sports Card Nonsense, episode 5, I'm like, the hell is he supposed to say? Listen, if you slip $100 bill between a couple of cards, we're going to give you favorable grading. No, he's not going to go on a podcast to say that. I'm sorry. Not to suggest PSA does that, but at the very least, it's inconsistent. It's a very non-transparent industry that's predicated on adjusting artificially secondary prices. So it's what it is. But you get what you pay for. You get what you get via card porn. The chuckleheads over at Backyard Breaks are bragging that they've seen a 30% increase in followers since the giveaway that never was. The old saying goes, the first time you're a victim, the next time you're a volunteer. I would imagine the follower increase is more from people who just want to watch the train wreck of them, as opposed to people who are open their wallets to support these clowns. I mean,
of course. I mean, after controversial things, there's always a spike in follower numbers or listeners or everything to that. I personally don't get following it. I'm not a controversial person. I don't chase down the drama or the scoops or who's arguing this week. I've graduated high school. I don't need that anymore. But that's not to say that maybe they didn't pay for some of these, spike their numbers. Who knows?
Well, and if it's one of those things where, you know, YouTube, once you're monetized, it's like 1 cent per view kind of a thing. I mean, if you're getting money as a residual of the 30% increase, more views means more money, then hey, good for them. They've made more money. But if I follow them on Twitter just to, you know, follow them to see what are they going to do next. Yeah, I listen to Howard Stern to see what the hell he's going to say next, even if I hate the guy, just because of what he says is so controversial or outlandish. If I follow him on Twitter, it doesn't really matter because you don't get any money off that. You know, if you're watching them on YouTube and they are getting money off of you, but there's a difference between what revenue they would get there versus I'm going to go buy into their break tomorrow and support them that way. And I don't know that that's monetarily speaking. I don't think that 30% increase, if it's accurate, is really entering their wallets. I could be wrong. And again, caveat emptor, just you wanted to go do business with people like that, that's your business. Most of us would choose not to. You know, but again, you can do business with whomever you like. All we're here to do is report it. Their reputation is shot in the eyes of so many collectors and so many hobbyists, and rightly so. They screwed up, and they did so on camera. You know, but anyhow, I don't know if you've heard about this yet, guys. eBay with a new authentication service. This came from Suze Lugerai.
Lugerai.
I'm not gonna. I can't roll the tongue, so I apologize if I'm butchering the last name. At least we're saying it now and not trying to ignore it.
You know, Suze.
So apparently, this is for cards valued at $750 or more. Steph, you want to read real quick how it works according to what eBay said?
So you look for the blue authenticity guarantee checkmark when you make your purchase. I'm assuming this falls in line with that top-rated seller type dealie that they'll put below each of the listings. The seller ships your card to the authentication facility, which I believe is CSG. Double check that in a second. Card is verified and authenticated through a multi-point process, inspections, receives a tamper-proof sticker and a QR code confirming the authentication. I would hope that so it looks like they got like a superior fit sleeve type dealie going on where they put the sleeve guaranteeing that the card is what it says it is, not on the card, not on the sleeve, not on the mag touch or top loader, as were. And then the professional ships the card directly to you via secure and discreet tracked shipping. All cards at this time will have signature required delivery, showing off a Bowman Chrome Wander Franco Orange Refractor, a Yu-Gi-Oh card, as well as, I guess, more of the Yu-Gi-Oh in the actual search itself.
So this is no cost to consumer. eBay is going to cover all of the associated costs. Apparently, it's already live. I saw a listing earlier on Facebook that already was screenshotted as, because that was my first thing, is when does this roll out? So how does it work? If I buy a card from one of you guys right now and it's worth $5, you guys could package it up right now and drop it in the mailbox tonight. Drive over to the USPS right now, and or drop it off tomorrow, the next day. Not a big deal. But if I buy a card at $1,000 from you, are you shipping it to the grading company or the authentication? Do we know how that works yet as a seller?
Yes. The seller ships it to, by mid-2022, the service will expand to include graded autographed patch cards sold for $250 plus. So essentially, you ship the card to, and I confirmed it per the article, CGC/CSG. They confirmed that it is what it says it is, that it's no shenanigans going on, unlike Michael Jordan cards recently at a Dallas show. Tase, don't tase me, bro. And then they ship it to you from their facility.
So it's similar to the global shipping where everybody sends it to Kentucky.
Yep, Erlanger.
Kentucky, they send it to all the different countries.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm shipping it to a centralized location. They'll authenticate it, then they ship it to my buyer.
Yes.
And the turnaround time on this is how many days?
They're saying a couple days, but the time will tell.
I mean, again, how many cards are they selling at over $750 per day? That's really what it comes down to is, if you buy a card today, being Wednesday, it's Wednesday evening, that card's not going to get shipped out until Thursday. And depending on where you're at in the country, you got to allow 3 to 5 business days on average. Now are we looking at 2 weeks?
Well, and CSG, if I'm not mistaken, is based out of Florida. So worst case scenario, you ship out of Alaska, Washington, ship to Florida, and then it goes to California. You might look at a week and a half, sure.
I mean, I guess for the peace of mind, I'm willing to wait. And if it's
then would that see a natural push to people wanting to come pick up in person?
The other thing too is it going to see?
I mean, maybe not for a $750 card, but for a $23,000 card.
Are you going to start seeing a lot of cards listed at $749.99?
$249.99.
What are your thoughts on this, Nick? I don't know how much you buy on eBay.
I do, but again, like nothing super high end like that. But above that price point. I'm just curious as to the why. And then is it like a slab that you could crack out later or pull this thing out of? And then if you sell that card again, you got to go through the whole process again.
I think it's coming back to you in a card saver, just saying it's authentic. That's it.
Okay.
So if I ship it as a seller, if I ship $1,000 card to this location in a top loader, in a bubble mailer, just like I would anyway, directly to you. Now I'm doing it to them. I think they're just going to open up that top loader, take a look at it, inspect it, make sure that the card is 100% legit,
right,
and then forward it to my buyer. I'm assuming they'll package it up similar to how I had it, or maybe open up my bubble mailer and then drop it in a bigger envelope, perhaps.
It's looking like they're going to have to ship it back in a different envelope, because if you look at the preview image for this post, it almost looks like they're putting it on like one of those restaurant Visa card holders.
Right.
With your card on the inside here. Presumably there would be a flap that they fold over it and then put that in some sort of bubble mailer. Maybe a box if you have multiple. Yeah, there we go.
So
right there.
What's going on that they wanted to start this anyway?
So
other than the cards, obviously, but what is the loss to them for them to want to do this for free?
For the free part, that's questionable. I do know, and I would assume that they want to nail down the amount of chargebacks and the people that are trying to scam honest buyers to reduce these fraudulent charges and sales. But it's going to be really interesting to see whether they can hold up to the turnaround that they're expecting to have, if they're going to be getting slammed by all of these people sending to CSG. And then more so, what about for CSG? How's their business can hold up? Are they only going to be doing this going forward, or are they still going to slap cards as a second business? Do they have a bunch of listings on their website for now hiring?
My thought was that they're probably eating a lot of money with the buyer protection program with people that are getting chargebacks through eBay. As a buyer, I'm getting my $1,000 back, and then the seller's fighting for it on their end, and that $1,000 loss has to hit eBay's bottom line. So you get enough of those, it's going to change the system to, okay, could we partner with a third party logistic partner and have them authenticate cards, and maybe it minimizes the amount of money we have to eat on the other end. The way I look at it probably is it's a really good idea. We've mentioned this how many times in the boardroom conceptually, and then the execution fails miserably. So time will tell. If you're out there listening and you end up buying a card at over $750 that goes through this process, if you wouldn't mind, taking some pictures and sharing it with us, or even a video as you get it from eBay's authentication program, and just show us opening it, what it looks like on that end, that'd be fantastic. So we'd love to see what it looks like, and really can't wait. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully it's a great rollout, and this is awesome, and it helps to protect both buyers and sellers from fraud. But again, who knows?
Maybe to curse those morons that like to put like a 1989 Ken Griffey on for like 10 grand. Like it's just the ridiculous prices on a ridiculous card. Maybe that goes away too.
Possibly, yeah.
You mean the totally not fraudulent money laundering that maybe allegedly sort of happens?
It's
buy my 1990 Fleer Jose Uribe for $10,000, please.
Right.
Oh, NFTs. Caps on eBay via Robert Morris. I thought this was interesting at DAL. SUB fan, Dalsub fan. Mm-hmm. He's asking whether his wife called eBay to put a cap on him, sarcastically, perhaps. Like, my husband's buying too much. Can you stop it? Has anybody ever seen this? Robert went to bid on a card and got this response from eBay, quote, "To ensure that eBay remains a safe marketplace, we limit the quantity of items that can be bought or sold by a single account at one time. These limits may change over time and are determined by your previous site activity and overall performance."
So, for some context, Robbie is definitely well off. He has an amazing collection. If you check some of his more recent photos, he'll show off, a Ty Cobb bat relic, a huge Ruth collection, Maris mantle. But in particular, he has a very huge Mark Teixeira collection. Don't know why, but that's just his gig, his shtick, if you will, where he chases all of the one-on-ones. So I can imagine, look at that. Cobb pants, 8 of 9. I can imagine for sure that he would get a notification from eBay saying, hey, are you sure that this is you buying all of this? Unlike that one kid who bought like $100,000 of furniture from Walmart the other week and had it all delivered. But no, it's interesting to see that eBay has this feature built in, because I don't think I've ever seen this either.
Curious that it happens right at the same time that they're rolling out this authentication program, almost like they're trying to buckle down. It's also very curious that 6 months ago they kicked PWCC off their program or off their website. So just makes you wonder what's kind of going on behind the scenes. But I like to believe that Robert's wife called eBay and tattletaled on him. And,
Bro,
I want to talk to the mother of eBay customer service, because I want my husband cut off.
Well, I've shared the story of the guy who has the Hall of Fame bat, where each year he looks forward to adding the new inductees to the bat, where in particular Ricky Henderson walked up, put his index and pinky fingers on the end of the bat, and then signed it, and then added HOF the year and told him this was the first time he'd actually wrote HOF with the inscription Dealey.
Mm.
But that he found it super interesting. Ricky just walks up, goes, that's about enough, and then signs in that space that he'd marked. That's the person who has that bat. It's super amazing to see in person all of the signatures. So I'm not too surprised that apparently his wife would try to call eBay.
That's still a
If
story I like the
eBay's
best.
to be believed.
Even if it comes out to be false, that's the one I'm going with. That's what's going in my diary tonight after the show. So
That's your headcanon.
it is. So sign up for a sports book. You get a free blaster. This came via Chris Harris at Stale Gum.
Still
Chris,
going.
Chris says you can't say that they don't know their audience.
This
hey.
being can't even tell the name of the company, but if someone were to tell me pick out the room who you think works for a bookie, would this not be like the image that you get in your head, just that type of nothing to him, but he's just it's the perfect what you'd imagine as a bookie. It looks like Prism from 1819, 1920. I'm not sure.
That's one way to get rid of your flip vestment. Give it to a bookie. So anyway, we thought that was kind of funny. If you don't follow Stale Gum or didn't see this particular post.
I mean, he's not wrong. Can't say they don't know their audience.
Hey,
gambling is gambling, regardless how you do it.
Again, smoke if you got him. I mean, hey. It turns out that the 2021 Bowman's Best, Wander Franco, yes, that card, the super has been pulled. John Newman over at Sports Card Nation shared this, that they're a customer of Parlor City Sports Cards in Binghamton, New York, apparently pulled it. Cards going to PSA for grading, and then apparently it's going to Golden Auctions to be put up for sale. I actually had 2 people reach out to me in DMs saying that they're familiar with that LCS and they believe the card was not pack pulled, but actually they suspect it was backdoored from Topps. Of course, we cannot confirm this, but one of them said that they also believe the Max Meyer Super Auto was never packed out either. In the Yellow Queese Cespedes that was pulled in the spring, also
that's
not pack pulled.
Former University of Minnesota Golden Gopher Max Meyer.
So yeah, I mean the card is now available. Whether it was pack pulled or not, or whether there's shenanigans, who knows? We don't know. Can't confirm it, and we know stuff does get backdoored from time to time. But anyhow, the Wander Franco is now available. So, if we come across it when it hits Golden Auctions, we'll try to keep track and get a final sale price on that. Best guess, you guys think it hits 6 figures?
High 5, low 2, low 6. Sorry.
Yeah, because didn't the Otani Bowman Chrome auto hit like 85 or something like that? It didn't clear 6.
Somewhere in that frame.
But now this is the rookie card that never was. I mean, this has now, you're buying the backstory as to what is it the rookie card? Is it not the rookie card?
Not quite the 1 of 1, but friend of the show, Kraken Wax, pulled a number to 25 version.
Nice. Good for him.
For some bricky.
I thought this was kind of a cool set. From Ryan Cracknell shared this. It was from 2001. It was a Topps employee set, limited to 150 copies. It was listed for $1,200 on eBay. I had never heard of these sets. What do we know about them, Steph?
Well, I mean, there are several years where they have a quote unquote limited edition or employee edition. They were rewarding their employees for a strong year. My understanding is that hence there's 150 versions of them. They're issued out to each individual employee. And in this case, they're all factory stamped, similar to this person. Right here, maybe it's on the back, but they do say employee set or limited edition. And much like everything in 2001, they do tend to crackle when pulled apart. But great cards.
$1,200. I would think, could be wrong, but I would think you would do better breaking that up and selling in the team sets.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
You know, just at $50-$75 a pop. And obviously 2001 has the Ichiro.
It does.
So is the Pujols in there as well? Was that 01?
I believe he shares a card with Ichiro. Let me double check that now.
You'd figure there's going to be a couple of team sets that you could probably charge $100 a quarter or more for and cut into that. Just if you're comparing it against the $1,200 price point. That 3 or 4 of the team sets, just like box breaking, right, are going to hold a premium. And then, I mean, right now, I mean, if they broke that up and said, hey, I'll give you the A's team set for $60, $70, I'd probably pull the trigger just to have it. Go find me another one. Yeah, there's 150 of them, but go find me another one. A lot of times it's not about the price. It's about finding, you know, to me, 150 copies is extremely limited, even though it's still a high enough number. You know, I don't think these are readily available.
Okay, so corrected. Maybe Pujols was in Chrome.
I don't think
he's not in Topps.
No. Okay. But there's probably some other ones outside of Ichiro that are highly sought after that would increase.
Rocco Baldelli.
Yeah, of course. Hey, now the Rays are going to sell for $12.
Rafael Soriano. Let's see some other major names. Edwin Encarnacion, sure. Ex-twin Brian Bass. Eric Almonte was supposed to have promise.
So
Isak Choi for Cubs fans.
That was a big name. He was supposed to be the dude at first base, man. I remember the hype that was around him for 5 minutes.
Jason Hart.
There was a cool card that came out in 1990. Steph, I don't know if you've ever seen this one before, but Joe Montana, despite what we think about Tom Brady, Joe Montana has NFL records that will never be broken. He holds the all-time record for touchdown passes, and Brady in another 10 lifetimes will never come close. Of course, all of this is predicated on the back of the 1990 Fleer Joe Montana card, which aptly comes from a Twitter handle at Tom Brady Rules 12. According to the 1990 Fleer Joe Montana, unfortunately, they inverted his yards and his touchdowns. So according to the card, he threw for 31,054 career touchdowns, but only 216 career yards. That is a mathematical anomaly that will never be broken. And that's impressive. You play Madden for the rest of your life and you will never pull that feat off.
I mean, well, not with only 107 interceptions.
Yeah,
I mean, in theory, you could have Bo Jackson doing his 80,000 running yards and and have Montana throw a touchdown from the 1 yard line. But
yeah, so we're getting towards the end of the show. There are a couple more topics, Steph. I'm gonna skip over a couple real quick. If you've seen Shawn Michaels, wrestling, legend. He has a very unique signature on his trading cards at Robert Reed Jr. If you are watching this live on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. If you've not seen it, ask a friend, Google it. It's not perhaps as bad as the Ronda Rousey head of her class or whatever it was relic card, first in her class. Sean Manaea of the A's signs his 55 that looks like the word ass. This one is a phallic symbol. So if you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to take a look at it because it is pretty cool.
I tried showing Ange, and when I first showed this to Ben, he's like, "Does that say sex?" I'm like, "No, it's a penis."
Yeah. Well, yeah, because
And-
on one of them, it looks like the way he's trying to like be sly with how he has the S and then like an E in the middle. It's this one here where
Right.
he's flying off the rope. It's like, okay, I see the S, I see an E, and then the very last letter on the very bottom is that an X, and literally completely glossed over the phallic symbol in between. He's the Heartbreak Kid,
Right.
and I mean, should we expect anything else from Shawn Michaels? This is classic trolling.
I think you can tell a lot by a person by what they decide to do when they graffiti. So
we figured
that would count too.
that's brilliant. Now you got to go add one to your PC because that's just awesome.
Right.
It would seem that Rich was busy as he's broken them out. 1990 Fleer. Apparently, they recorrected them because here's TDs versus yards, and here's your correct numbers there. Rich must have corrected them because there are now two versions.
How much are they apart? Like, are they basically the same price, or is the error one hold a premium?
Generally the same dollar.
It's fun to have, fun to look at when you look at those numbers and go, "Hey, that's not right." Yeah. One topic I wanted to get to tonight is there's something that I've seen in hobby groups, and I've now seen in local Facebook groups, local to my city, that people are. I don't know where the letter came from, but skirting taxes is what it appears to be. I actually tweeted this out after Stefan shared it with me, just so we had a quick link to it. People are going to do some funny things in 2022 in order to skirt this $600 1099 law that's always been on the books, but is now going to be enforced. And what's scaring people is going to be the e-commerce sites, eBay, as well as, other banking sites like, Venmo and PayPal, where over $600 in goods and services, you're going to get a 1099. I mean, without getting into the tax implications, you should always be reporting all of your sources of income. Most people don't when it's cash deals and this and that. But what you're going to end up seeing based on this letter, says starting January 1st, 2022, $600 or more, you're going to get this in goods and services via Venmo, Cash App, Zelle. It doesn't say PayPal and eBay specifically. It means if you receive over $600, you're going to get this, and you'll have to report it on your taxes. And it says examples of non-taxable income is money received from a friend as a reimbursement, or from a roommate to pay their share of the rent, or money received from a loved one. In other words, when sending money online, you should always put in the memo reimbursement for food, birthday gift, reimbursement for drinks, Christmas gift. And again, you're starting to see this. Remember, this law has been around forever. You should have always been reporting anything over $600 that you've performed for goods and services. But remember, as part of the stimulus plan in 2021, while you're happily getting your $1,400 per person in your household, the poison pill of that is now the IRS can actually go in and take a look at your bank account. That's the catch-22 of this whole thing, is the fact that now technically you're supposed to report any money that enters your bank account. And now it's going to be seen as a sign of income. I mean, always talk to your tax professional. I know just enough to get me in trouble. I've done taxes for years, but a lot of things are state specific. So always talk to your tax professional, your accountant, your CPA. Ask a friend who knows more about your taxes and can look at your specific things. But when you see crap like this, it's like people are going to get in trouble because they're going to try to do a roundabout and an end run on the corner. They're not going to hit that corner, and they're going to get destroyed by a linebacker. The linebacker being the IRS. Just, you're going to put all these friends and family notes in there, and your PayPal is going to get frozen for 6 months. Watch. Have fun. Just be careful what you do and the advice that you accept when it comes to this stuff. At the
It
end of
wasn't
day.
the FBI that caught Capone.
No, I mean you got tax evasion.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and he's serving a prison sentence. It's just like OJ, right? He didn't go down for Ronald and Nicole. He went down for that whole pulling the gun at the hotel and the memorabilia stuff. But at the end of the day, he served prison time. Maybe not for the correct crime, assuming that you figure he was guilty. Capone served prison time, just not for all of the stuff that he did that we know that he was most
Allegedly, maybe. If he
allegedly
did. If he
guilty
did.
of. So yeah, just be careful. Ask somebody that's smarter than me that does your, especially if you have a tax professional that you pay each year, whether it's H&R Block and Jackson Hewitt, or if it's a private person, or if you're a business. Keep your receipts. You buy stuff, you can manufacture your own receipts. That's not skirting taxes. That's perfectly legal. Say I bought something for, if you buy something at a flea market, you're not going to get a receipt. So get a receipt book and say I bought $25 for cost of goods sold. It's inventory. That way you can issue a profit and loss at the end of the year, because the last thing you want to do is show all of this income without the expenditures to offset some of it, lowering your tax liability.
If I'm not mistaken, you can find a receipt book at Walmart for a couple bucks.
Yeah,
it's in like the accounting section, where the notebooks are, where the pens, the school stuff.
Yeah, and again, you can ask your tax professional what is acceptable. I mean, the IRS isn't going to hold you to the standard of you better get a receipt when you go to that flea market. It's not going to happen. If you do buy something at the Goodwill, at a thrift store to resell, keep that receipt. That way you can show the income and I bought this specifically as resale. Inventory, and you're selling something out of your garage that you had for 20 years. And you're selling it through an antique store, for $50, you got to show your acquisition costs, $20. If you show one side of the ledger, you're going to get in some serious trouble, because you're not showing, you're going to get popped to have to pay taxes against all of that income with no expense. So anyway, you see crap like this floating around and it just reeks of tax fraud, and let's get cute. And you're going to have some serious problems. Our friend Jeremy, Foul 5 Ball, says Dollar Tree has receipt books. Just something to document.
There you
go. Do it on a napkin. Do it so it looks professional. But, when you have to turn receipts over or have receipts on hand in the event that you get audited, do it in an Excel spreadsheet, at least. And then if you were to get audited, you can create the paper trail to support that. But if you get audited 4 years from now, you're not going to be able to go back and remember, oh yeah, I bought this Justin Herbert at a card show for $50 and sold it for $100. So just anyhow.
Did want to share as a final thought, as a outgoing outro of sorts, one-time hobby darling Gordon Beckham tweeting out tonight that since his good friend Buster Posey decided to retire this year, I'm officially announcing that I will be retiring as well. Want to make sure we get into Hall of Fame this same year, start the countdown. For those who are a little bit newer to the hobby, you may not remember the chase around 2009 products with Gordon Beckham. But it's kind of interesting to see him go at the same time. I mean, are we going to start to see Strasburg next? It's kind of the huge chases. It's like Alex Gordon. There was a couple gimmicky releases of players that didn't exist. There was the Dice K cards. Let's come for a short period. And then, of course, Gordon Beckham and Strasburg and Trout and Harper and it's really about when all of that started.
A couple things real quick, too. The shit you see on eBay and Facebook, a couple fun things before we get out of here. Sure. Certified Cards Max is a really fun account to follow if you're not at Certified Cards. Very funny. He said, just hear me out. What if Drew's cards got the Trevor Lawrence kaboom from Backyard Breaks, then subbed it through Mark's Cards, the ultimate scam trifecta? that brings a couple of different scams together and unifies them perfectly. And then you can't be serious. I mean, I know a Facebook thing, coining your cards to proof of ownership. Boats for the W said you can't be serious. Screenshot of Joe Burrow from the game last weekend. Cincinnati, Tennessee tied at 6 at the time. And in front of it has the owner of the card's name with the date and in front of the TV and a whatever card it is of Joe Burrow trying to sell it, asking for $400 your best offer. I don't get why you
Chronicle score, but I mean, you have a desktop, right? A dinner table, even. You want to be a little bit more shady, have your fucking hanging out as you got a crotch shot in the car.
Just it's like I don't get the correlation to put it in front of Joe Burrow. I mean, it's like, is that gonna make? Oh, dude, 6-6, man, that increases that. I don't. Some
With
people in
6
this
minutes
hobby,
left.
some people in this hobby. So, anyhow, any final thoughts from either of you guys before we get out of here?
No, just as always, I want to thank you guys for having me. I was having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember, we're live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 Central on YouTube. You make sure to subscribe and review our show on all platforms. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards. You can find Steph at Junkwax Twins, myself at Our Trading Cards. Nick, where can we find you?
Twitter, Instagram, it's at Nick_Wasika, WOSIKA. And hopefully on a YouTube channel with Upper Deck again very, very soon.
Awesome. Can't wait. And again, we'll try to get you back on in March or April after a couple of other things happen. And we have some more things to talk about as far as Series 1 goes. And we're looking forward to seeing that Mike Trout. So
Definitely.
please share your...
I do want to state it's nice to be back. Thank you again, everyone who's checked in. The Laughlin family, the Minor family, Mom's maiden name, definitely appreciates it. May have some shows here in the future, different backgrounds, different setups. Hopefully, the sound integrity stays up. But no, it's nice to be back. And how do I get to wear the Dookie chain?
Yeah, it's nice to have you back. For a variety of reasons.
But I think I put in an MVP performance today.
Well, we got to talk to the GM, the coach, and of course everybody's agents, the parents.
Of course.
Yeah, the kind of 12th man on the bench that still makes $4 million, kind of a thing. It's
right.
Well,
we need that veteran presence in the locker room, Steph.
He's more of the salary filler to complete the NBA trade between 6 teams. We have to trade him just because it's a salary match.
Everybody's like, what the hell are they talking about?
Why would anybody want that guy?
Well, much like the only Loeffler to play in the NFL.
No, you're more like the Russell Westbrook of podcasts.
I'll be a place kicker for 15 years for the Vikings.
Make good money. 7-figure income. So, all right, guys. Well, please share your hobby stories, great pulls. Send your questions our way. Keep collecting till next week.
See you guys then.